The model view is now where you create the relationship. This is how it looks like, right? As I explained, Power BI will automatically create some form of relationship for some. As you can see, the product table and the sales table and customer table relationship has been built. Now, how do you look at your relationships? If you hover the mouse, put your mouse here, you can see that there's a relationship between the product table and our main table, which is sales, right? Now, X or this asterisk means it's a many-to-one relationship. And what does many-to-one relationship does? So what we're going to do is we're supposed to create a relationship, but Power BI, like I said, will automatically do some for us, and it's done that. So all those other queries we created, if you remember, there's a customer table and the product table. We do not need the purchase tracker because we know that that was a different distance. All these three, there's already been a relationship created automatically by Power BI. Now you just need to check if the relationship is correct, and then I'll use it to explain what relationships are. So the product table, we know it has only the product ID. To create a relationship, you need to look at what both tables have, and then you build that relationship based on that. Of course, Power BI has done that directly behind the scene, but if you were to do it yourself, that's how you will do it. So you look, what do both tables have in common? It is the product ID. And then to do that, you will drag from one to the other. Now, Power BI has done it for us. So you can see there's a many-to-one relationship on the product ID. But if you wanted to do it yourself, all you have to do is you will drag this product and put it on this product, right? It will give you this. So it says there's already a relationship. Yeah, because we're not going to go ahead because there's already a relationship. And then it just shows you how they match. And you're like, yes, they match. This is what I want. We already have it. It needs to be many-to-one. Many-to-one kind of relationship. The best way to explain it is if you look at the product ID, remember that most of them were many, they were repeated, right? And then if you look at, so for the product ID, for instance, their products, although their IDs, they could be anything. For instance, maybe this one could mean a cloth, this one could mean a bag, this could mean something. So many-to-one relationship means the product appears so many times, but they are unique to one particular person. They can be unique to one particular person. So like we know we have a customer information or a customer ID or a customer column. And we know that we have one of these guys, Uncle Joe's, wherever, or Alex, and wherever. They appear once, but they bought many products. So that's what many-to-one relationship is. So when you're creating a relationship, that's what you need to be looking out for. So what you're creating the relationship on, in this case, is the product ID. But the product ID appears multiple times. But then the match to, for instance, in our data set is to the customer information, right? But these customers are only one. Yeah, we have 4 different customers, but the individual customers appear one, but that individual customer can have more than 4 or 5 products that they've bought, as we saw when we were working on the Power Query. So that's why you have to use many-to-one relationship. There's also one-to-one relationship. That if it's a unique kind of stuff, it's just the opposite of many-to-one. And so the product ID is only one. You're looking at the data set, it's not multiple, it's just one, and the customer information is one, then you use one-to-one. But most times, most of the data you work, especially if you're combining queries, most times would be many-to-one relationship because there'll be one that are unique. Most times our customer information are always unique. When you work with real life data sets, but then such customers would have multiple things they've done. If you're working for a bank, you're the unique person for your bank. Even if you have 2 accounts with the same bank, it's still treated as one. You may have the same name, but you see the customer ID will be different, and that's the uniqueness. However, your transactions, like the money you've sent in and out, will be a lot. So when you have such a data set, it needs to be many-to-one relationship. But if you work with a data set where, okay, the information is unique, one for everyone, and then the other bit you want to join to do your form of analysis is also one, then you can use one-to-one relationship. Your cross-filter direction would always be single as well. And it's the same from what I've explained in using the many-to-one relationship as well. It does, and then you then have to make this relationship active for it to actually be active. Because if you create the relationship and you do not make this relationship active, it will not be active. The relationship will be created, but then when you're doing your visualization and you're trying to add filters and all that, they will not work accordingly because you've not made it active. Now, these bits in creating relationship are very important, and doing it right because when you're done, whether it's done automatically by Power BI or you do it yourself, when you create your visuals, you're going to create things we call slicer and things we call filters. Now, what these things do basically is, if you remember in Excel, or if we even go back to this our view, let me cancel this, and we go back to this our view, you can see there's a filter here, which allows for you to be able to filter. So which we should be able to filter on a particular customer. So if I carry this customer, which is the customer, and I put it here, I'm able to select. Now, if I select only Alex, the analyst, you see the numbers have changed. So the focus now is on this guy. If I select Uncle Joe's prep shop, it's saying Uncle Joe bought made orders 10 times in January, 7 times in February, and 5 times in March, right? And so if you do not get your relationship right, first and foremost, it probably won't even go. You'll get an error when you're trying to, if you are not matching with the right relationship. But where you will not get an error is if you maybe use a one-to-one relationship. So what will happen is you're sometimes going to work on data, and you can see there's filter on this page, and then filter on all pages. If you look at my screen where my cursor is, so there's page 1 here, there's page 2 here. And for efficiency, sometimes you know that, okay, some of the pages or the visuals we've created in the different pages, one particular filter can work for all, depending on what you're trying to visualize. Now, if you've used a one-to-one relationship where you're supposed to use a many-to-one relationship, the filter may then affect only one page or only one visual because you're not using many-to-one relationship. So the filter will only work on where the one-to-one relationship is. And so in this case, where on this filter we've used Uncle Joe's prep, if it's for filter on all pages and you select Uncle Joe's prep shop, it may affect this particular visual. But then maybe if there's another visual here, it won't affect it. Or maybe you want it to affect a different page or a different visual on a different page, it won't affect it because you're using one-to-one relationship when you're supposed to use many-to-one. So yeah, that's basically how relationships work. And then again, to know the relationships, you just do, when we look at the customer table and the sales, what's the unique relationship? What do they have in common? Is customer ID. That's what you want to use. And that's what Power BI has automatically done for us. And it has done, again, many to one relationship. Again, we know how to do it if it's not done it. So for instance, if let's say we delete this, and we want to create it ourselves, what you would do is you move this customer ID on top of this customer ID. It gives you this view that this is what you're doing. And yeah, yes, I'm good with it. Automatically tells you it's many to one, and that's the correct one. It's automatically highlights this, make this relationship active, and that's the correct one. You can see the match. It means Uncle Joe's prep ID will, and his ID or his name will always match to his order or the number of units he sold. And then you can tap on save and it creates the relationship, the line for you.